Well, welcome to episode 3 of the Phyllis and Laurin
wow.
show. We're having great fun doing this. These are videos for readers and writers. And we have Phyllis Haislip with us today. My name is Laurin Wittig. We're both writers of historical fiction, but very different genres. And Phyllis is going to talk to us a little bit today, or we're going to talk together about her second book. And it's called...
It's called Anybody's Hero, and the subtitle is The Battle of Old Men and Young Boys.
That's a great subtitle. Is that something you made up, or?
No, there actually was a real battle that occurred in Petersburg, Virginia, and it was called The Battle of Old Men and Young Boys. I mean, Bree's there an author with soul so dead that couldn't make a novel out of that title.
Yes,
but let me tell you a little bit what the battle was about. During the Civil War, this book is set in the Civil War, like Lottie's Courage, my first book. The city of Petersburg set off 17 units to the Confederate Army, and when it came time for Petersburg to be attacked by those Union devils that were attacking Petersburg, there was no one left to defend the city because all the men were off fighting in the Confederate Army. So they got out the old men and the young boys, 107 of them, held off 3,500 men of the Union Army until help arrived.
Good grief.
So it was a very interesting experience, and this is a book about a boy and his granddad.
So, have you been to Petersburg?
Petersburg is very much a character in this book. Petersburg in Virginia, it's about, what, 40 miles from here, was the site of a famous siege during the Civil War that went on for like 9 months. But had the old men and young boys not held off the Union Army, there would have been no siege. So this is I think, a really key moment. But Petersburg itself is very charming. The downtown area, like many downtown areas, is an area that many people have deserted. So it looks a lot like it might have looked in the Civil War. The original church and the original bank are there, so when you walk around there, you really feel that you're back in the 19th century.
So this must have really fed your imagination for this story.
Really did, and one of the men at the museum took me to the site where this battle took place and walked me all around the historic places, so I really felt very good about it. But there's more to it than that, because there's some very interesting... there were very interesting things going on in Petersburg. Now,
there's a mystery in this book, right? In Lottie's Courage, it's not a mystery, but this one has a mystery.
Well, there's a house in Petersburg called the Trapezium House, and in this house, there are no right angles. The man who built it in 1817 was very superstitious, and he felt that perhaps evil rested in right angles. So there's no right angles in this house. At the same time, in Petersburg, they were working on the Confederate equivalent of the Gatling gun, which was so there is a lot of spying and things going on during this time. Plus, in the museum at Petersburg, there's a doll with no face. And you know, Breeze the writer was so dead they couldn't write a story about a doll with no face. And I've got a picture in here of the doll with no face. So there were some wonderful things that contributed to this story. I'm not going to tell you how it all comes out. But again, it's a story about a relationship between a boy and his granddad. And I liked the characters so much in this book that I wrote a second book about Petersburg, which was my 4th book, in which some of the same characters appear.
Oh, I love a good book that pulls characters from a previous book. It always makes me feel like I'm coming back to visit old friends.
Well, not only that, when my son read the book and one of the characters, Jim, he said, "Yay, Jimmy's come back." So,
all right, so we need to read this book to learn about the mysteries of Petersburg and a little bit about the history.
And also, you should visit Petersburg when you come to visit Williamsburg, Virginia, which is very commercial. Go to Petersburg.
They have a great museum there. I got to go on a field trip with my son when he was in about 5th grade.
Museum.
And yes, and it was really interesting.
That's where the doll with no face.
It's a piece of history I never knew, and I grew up in the Deep South where we were surrounded by the Civil War. So it's a really interesting piece of history and it's a fun way to learn about it.
Well, thank you, Laurin. We'll see you next time.
All right, great.